Hi, everyone. This is Anna, one of your consumer tech specialists at Mid-Continent Public Library. And today we are going to explore some Google account features. So if you have ever heard of Gmail, that is Google's email account. That is just one feature that is available when you sign up with Google. You may know that you also have access to document, slide, and spreadsheet software that can be used online. We do have videos specifically about those different softwares and services. So definitely check out our Google Docs playlist, our Google Sheets playlist, as they're going to have a lot of videos that go in depth. Google gives you access to a myriad of information and entertainment options as part of the account. So we are going to talk about some of the features that you may or may not know are actually part of the account. So we are going to start on the basic Google page, google.com. I am already signed into my account, so that would be something that you would possibly need to do to access the account areas for these different apps. So what we are going to do is go over towards the top right corner. We have a little icon that may have initials or it may have a little profile icon that you've set up for your account. Right next to that is the app grid. So if you click on it, it's going to bring up a list of the various apps that Google makes available as part of your account. So if I just kind of scroll down, there are a lot of options. Keep scrolling, there are some more options. And then when we get to the bottom, there's a button for even more options from Google. So I'm going to click that, and that brings us to Google's products page. And if we just start to scroll down there, of course, they're going to let us know that they have their own phone and things like that, and information about what they are doing to protect your safety. So there is more information if those are things that you're interested in. It looks like there's some videos maybe as well. Then they do have a whole section of education apps that can be used by schools in and out of the classroom. So we are going to keep scrolling past all of that, and we get to all of Google's products that are included, all their apps. So they are in alphabetical order. However, some of them have the word Google as part of their title, some of them don't. And so you may, if you don't immediately find what you're looking for in the list, you may jump back to the G's and look and see if it is Google. For example, Google Fonts. So maybe you were looking for fonts and you didn't find them where they should be, kind of right in between finance and forms. It's because they are Google fonts. So they are in the G area of the list. But as you can see, as I keep scrolling, there are just a ton of different options to look at. So we are going to take a quick look at a couple of these. Google Earth is one of the apps that we are going to look at today. So this can be used for pleasure, for entertainment, or there are some pieces of it that could be used in a classroom. One thing to note about Google Earth, some people have indicated that the zoom feature on Google Earth makes them feel a little seasick. So that is just something to keep in mind. It looks like right now we are not all the way zoomed out. Let me see. So if you see, I clicked in the bottom right corner, I clicked on the little Earth icon, and that brought me back. This is the most zoomed out view that you can look at, just the whole Earth. If you left click with your mouse, you can pull the Earth and kind of look around it, make it go up and down. So that's pretty interesting. And then you can just click on kind of anywhere on the map to get a zoomed in view. So Google Earth allows you to zoom the Earth out from space all the way down to Street View. You may have seen Street View on like Google Maps or something like that, but this will show it in relation to where you are in the world. If we go to Voyager mode, this is where some of the entertainment or educational options of Google Earth come in. They have things about nature. There are games that you can play, trivia. There's also layers. It looks like some very different things that you can look at there. Okay, so the little dice icon is just going to take you somewhere random. So I'm feeling lucky that's what that does. Projects, this is where having your Google account comes in because you can work on projects and they'd be saved through your Google Drive, which is another app that is connected to your Google account. You can also change the map style and measure distance. So those are just a few things that you can do with Google Earth. Back on the products menu, another probably not as well known feature that you get with your Google account is Google Arts and Culture. So this goes a little bit along with Google Earth in that you can get information and explore places that are not necessarily close to where you live. So looks like you can choose your favorite color and then it'll show you different artworks. So that's pretty interesting. So famous artworks and all different types of art. There are artifacts that are currently housed at specific museums. You can get more information about things, either art or international cultures. It looks like there's some games you can play that are probably going to be culture and art related. And then you do also have the option to look at some curated topics. And this is what I find to be very interesting. You can take a virtual walking tour of different museums from the comfort of your own home. You can also, it looks like, match your pet or match yourself to artworks, and it'll use artificial intelligence. Another aspect of your Google account that is entertainment related is YouTube. So YouTube was acquired by Google fairly early on, but it did start as its own company, which is why it is actually the only Google product that does not have a Google web address. It's still just youtube.com. And as you can see here in this list, there are a few different YouTube apps that can be used to really focus what you're using. There is going to be the traditional YouTube. There is YouTube Kids, which is going to filter content that just seems viewable for kids. YouTube Music is going to be all music videos or music-based videos. YouTube TV is a streaming service that you can pay a subscription for, and it has live TV as well as on-demand TV. And then YouTube virtual reality, I actually don't know that much about. I would assume that it is their venture into virtual reality entertainment. So the videos that are on there would be virtual related. So YouTube, as I said before, it is a streaming video website where anyone with an account can upload videos. So there are videos that range from very kind of personal to very professional videos that have been budgeted, and even some original content that YouTube has created and posted. So how YouTube works. This site can give you some more information if you want to know more of the background of YouTube. So you can get a little bit more information about YouTube, how it works. and that sort of thing, or you can go to the actual website. This is where we can search for videos. You can use YouTube without an account, but if you use it while you are logged in to your Google account, it gives you the option to save videos to watch later, make playlists, and it also will start to curate the suggestions of videos based on what you've recently watched. So we can see that there is a Mid-Continent Library video right in our suggested videos right away. So we would have the option to click on the video to get more information and just to go ahead and start playing it. So as we go back, they have a lot of apps that you can use to gather and sort through and save information. So they have a few different apps that you can use if you are planning a trip. Google Travel, which is right above YouTube. It is a place where you can search for your different lodging and transportation needs. So you can go ahead and see, you might want suggestions about where to go. So maybe you know you want to take a trip, but you don't know where. You can see here, it's showing us a couple places and how much the flights would be. So a flight, it looks like from here to Los Angeles right now, you could find a flight for $86, but it's going to cost you $194 to go to Minneapolis. So that is based on the flights that have been scanned through Google. So Google has brought these up from various websites. So it's one way that you can start to plan your trip. You can also look for things to do while you're at a specific place. So if we want to go to Los Angeles, we also have, with our account, we can bookmark things that we want to do, and it'll save them on Google Maps for us. That's what the little bookmark icon in the corner of each of these places, that's what that is for. So it looks like it's giving us ideas of things that we can do in and around Los Angeles. So you may have to drive a little ways to get to some of these. Disneyland is in Anaheim, which is a little ways away from Los Angeles. So if we go back over to our left menu, we can also see flights from Los Angeles. And if we're logged into our Google account, or if we have our location services turned on our device, Google may auto-populate where the from portion of the flight is. So for us, it's saying that we are leaving from Kansas City going to Los Angeles. And you can click in that first destination box and manually change what it says if you are planning to leave from somewhere else, or maybe you're looking for someone else. So you do have the option to change things. And if you are looking at the little two arrows pointing opposite directions, if you click on that, it will switch the to and from locations for your flight. So you do have the option to do that if you want to look at maybe departing flights and returning flights. You also have the option to choose what days you want to see flights for. So you may want to be looking at flights in the future, and you can do that. You'll just click on the date and it'll have you pick your departure date and return date for a round trip, or you can change it to a one-way flight, and then you'll just pick the date on the calendar. And when you're finished, you'll just hit done. And if you did notice that when we had that calendar put up, it does have possibly the average price for a flight that day, or it may actually be the lowest price for a flight that day. And if we click on the hamburger menu icon in the top left corner of our page, we actually can come down to the option to track flights. So it says tracked flight prices. So if we start saving the searches, we can actually come to this page from our Google account and keep track of those flights. So maybe you have a relative who always comes for Christmas and you want to look at flights for them. You could use this to kind of keep track and see if the prices are rising, lowering, or staying the same. And that can help you in figuring out when you want to actually purchase your flight. And if we just hit the back arrow, that's going to bring us back to our flights page. But I did want to just note that you can also choose hotels. And this gives you a map view and a list view of hotels, their availability for dates you specify, and the pricing for those dates. It looks like you also can add filters. Maybe you're on a budget, so you want to make sure it's under $125 a night. Maybe that's not as big of a deal to you, but you want to make sure it's a 4 or 5 star hotel. You can definitely use those filter options to find what's going to work for you. And there actually is also the option if you would prefer not to stay in a hotel at all, you can look at vacation rentals, and that is on its own page. So those are considered 2 separate things, and it very similarly gives you the location, price, list view, and map view. So we are going to go back to our products menu, and other apps that you may be interested in if you are traveling might be the Maps option. There are actually 2 Maps apps that are connected to your Google account. So Maps or Google Maps is probably the one that you have heard of, but they also have a Maps app called Waze. And the difference between these are the Waze app is a bit simpler than Google Maps. It really focuses on giving you driving directions and options to get from point A to point B. It also includes information about traffic and other potential road hazards that you might want to be aware of as you're driving somewhere. And that's really the core of what it does. Whereas Google Maps, actually, you can use it to look up and discover different businesses or companies in a certain area. Then you can get their information as far as when they're open, contact information. If they have a website, it'll link the website. And then you get reviews and all sorts of things. So there's really just a lot packed into that Google Maps. So I did want to point out that there are 2 options, and you can choose to use one or the other or both. So another app that might be useful to you if you are traveling is the Translate app. And it can be pretty handy if you're traveling. They do have their own actual app, which a lot of these actually have dedicated apps, but you can also access them through a browser with your Google account. So that is just something to know. When you go to Google Translate, you have the option to start by typing or pasting a word or phrase into the first box. And then Google will actually try to detect the language. So you might be starting with English, but you might be starting with another language entirely. Google will try to detect the language as long as it's one of the over 100 languages that are supported by the app. You can also manually choose your starting language by using the drop down and choosing it off of the list or searching it in the search bar. But once you have typed it in and chosen your starting language, you just go over and very similar on the other side, you just choose either by the drop-down menu or by searching in the little search box in that drop-down the language that you would like to have it translated into. And then after you do that, you can also hear a audio clip of what the word or phrase sounds like. So that can be pretty handy if you are traveling. And the translations aren't always perfect because it is just a computer, so it can't know all the nuances in the language. But if you're traveling in a foreign country and the majority of the people there speak a language other than English or other than your native language, you can use this tool to try to communicate with the people in that country. You know, if you need to use a restroom or if you're trying to order food, this can help with something like that. And even if it's not perfect, the other person should know kind of what you're trying to get across. There now is also an option to upload documents and have documents translated. I haven't personally used that, so I can't say how accurate or not accurate it is, but it's probably going to be similar in that it'll be correct, but maybe not 100% correct. And the same with websites. You can put in a website URL and it will translate the page. If you are using Google Chrome as your internet browser, you may have seen this before, that if you go to a website that is in another language, it will try to auto-translate it to English if that's the language that you have been using in the browser. So it can be really handy. There are many, many more apps connected to your Google account, which you have seen from this list. And we just don't have enough time to talk about all those today. But remember, if you're looking for one or just want to look through all of these lists of apps, you want to look for that apps grid that is in the top right corner on most Google pages. And that will take you to your list and you can get to where you're trying to go. That's it for today's video. If you liked it, make sure you let us know. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook on our MCPL 360 page. We have new videos every Wednesday and Friday at 1 p.m. And if you missed the live event, you can always find all of our videos on our YouTube channel. You can find all of our videos there on our Consumer Technology playlist. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you again next time.